7, Gary Van Dam.
Here.
Division 6, Audrey Miller.
Here.
Division 5, Robert Paris.
Here.
Division 4, George Lane.
Here.
Division 1, Shelley Sourceable.
Here.
Division 3, Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 2, Keith Dias.
Here.
General Manager Knutson.
Here.
Attorney Tilden Kim.
Here.
And Holly Hughes present.
Item 3, voluntary public roll call. If any member of the public wishes to introduce themselves, please feel free to do so now.
Vincent Dino, Palmdale Water District.
Thank you, Vince.
John Yucashed.
Hi, John.
White Fence 3, Jack Cephas.
Thank you, Jack.
Ben Stewart, Roseland Community Service District.
Welcome.
Hi, Keith. John Joyce.
Hello, John. Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too.
Anyone else? Item 4, public comments and period open to the public. If anyone wishes to address the board on any item not on the agenda, please feel free to do so now. If there are none, we'll move along to new business. Item 6A1, administration of oath of office to reappointed and reelected directors by Attorney Tilden Kim. Thank you for being here, Tilden.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you. It's great to be here first time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
4 years.
Could I go back to one item?
Sure.
Item 5, adoption of agenda.
I so move we adopt item 5A1.
Director Miller, second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Sorry, Tilden, please proceed.
Thank you, President Dias. So if I could have the members to be sworn in, Director Dias, President Dias, Shelley Sourceable, Director Sourceable is virtual, Director Donato, Director Lane, and Director Paris. If we can stand and repeat after me. So I, and please state your name, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
The Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now we will move along to item 6A2, election to the board officers. And by board officers, I mean the board president and vice president. As you all know, I've served as your president for the last 2 years. It's gone by pretty fast. We had some challenges along the way, but yet it was very enjoyable. I enjoyed the opportunity to serve. I enjoyed the support of every staff member and every board member. We, no matter what, to use a baseball analogy, no matter what curveball the world threw at us, we hit it and we hit it hard. And so, I've enjoyed it, but I will not ask to be president again this term. My life outside AVEC has become very busy, and so I will not be able to give full devotion to the position that it deserves. Therefore, I will nominate Director George Lane to be our next president. George has served us many, many years in leadership positions and otherwise, and I'm sure that he will do an excellent job.
Mr. President, I'll second that nomination.
I appreciate that, but in the formal manner we're following, I haven't yet made a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Got it.
The floor is still open for nomination. Are there any other nominations for president? Hearing none, I will declare nominations closed and I will ask for a motion.
Mr. President, I will move that we elect George Lane as our president.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
I'll second. This is Director Sorsable.
Thank you, Shelley. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Pierce,
Yes.
George Lane, Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, measure passes. And now, nominations for vice president. I feel very fortunate that our existing vice president is willing to serve another term, so I will nominate Director Frank Donato, who's also served us many, many years in positions of leadership, and he'll do an excellent job.
And this is Director Sorsable, and I'll second that.
Thank you, Shelley, but first we have to ask for other nominations.
I understand.
Any other nominations for vice president? Hearing none, I will close the nominations for vice president and ask for a motion from Shelley.
I will make a motion to for Frank Donato to be our vice president.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Director Miller, second.
Thank you, Audrey. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller, Robert Pierce,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passed. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'd just like to just take a moment and just thank the board much for their confidence and support for myself and Frank serve as officers this year, and been on the board many years, and bar none, I think this is the best board in the Antelope Valley. The board members, the staff, all the personnel, they've just done a tremendous job. AVAC is in a tremendous, financially wise, everything is tip top. We always have to have reserves. The board members have worked very, very, hard with staff to make sure this, happens. So it's just hard to, I know there's other, boards that don't want to say they don't do as good a job, but AVAC does an exceptional, job. And, I think the taxpayers can, thank the board and the staff. So it's, in a way, I know it'll continue with the leadership. We've got, and also I'd like to mention that I've worked for many, many decades with Frank and, Keith, and the leadership they bring is just unparalleled. And Keith as president, it's unparalleled. He has the support in the staff, the community, and he's done just an excellent job. And it would be difficult for anybody to follow Keith's footsteps. So, Frank, I think the whole community owes you gratitude. You've done a tremendous job right there. And still, you're going to be very vital. Still, you'll get off very easy. You're still going to be busy right there. And this brings in a new year. We have new management. Matt, he just started January 1st. And, Dwayne's done an excellent, job through the years. And Dwayne must have called in a lot of IOUs during this wet year. So it's going to make your job a heck of a lot easier
definitely.
This year. So, anyway, it's, like I say, we thank Dwayne for all of his, work and support, and we're looking forward to your leadership.
Thank you.
And I think the first order of business that I would like to say is we're going to go into a recess, and we have some refreshments in the conference room, right next door. So, if we can take, 5 or 10 minutes or so, and we'll come back. We have a fairly, short agenda this evening. Yeah. Okay, so let's recess and we'll go into the conference room. We'll continue on with the consent calendar, 7A1, A2, A3, and A4. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Holly, could we have our roll call, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller. Yes. Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Surcible,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yeah. Okay, great, so ordered. It brings us down to item number 8, General Manager's Report. And Matt, we'll go over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, and congrats again to all the directors that were reelected, and congratulations to President Lane and Vice President Donato. Look forward to working closely with you two gentlemen. So life is good for me as a new general manager with the recent rainfall and snowpack accumulations up north. Definitely
rain, Matt. You brought rain. Right?
So definitely going to make my life easier as GM. So start off with a few slides to update the board on where we're at with reservoir levels and precipitation up north. So this first slide is to show last week what occurred up in the Feather River Basin. Up on the top right, you can see beginning in December 30th, just before the new year, through Sunday, this last Sunday. There was a total of 10.5 inches within that Feather River Basin. So really good news. And it looks like that trend's going to continue for the next 10 days. On the lower right, you can see the forecast from yesterday through January 19th. They're projecting another close to 11.4 inches of precipitation within that region. So, like I said, all good news. Also, you'll note that the snow level is going to drop to about 3,500 feet by Wednesday up in that region. So, good news. It'll hopefully accumulate a snowpack rather than just runoff within that region. Another chart that really paints the picture is what happened last few weeks. This is for the water year that began in October of 2022, runs through September of the year. October started off slow. We didn't get any precipitation. The average for the month of October looked like it was 2.8. That's those blue dashes or bars on this chart. But then things looked up in November. We almost met our average precipitation for the Feather River region, about 4.6 inches. And then last meeting on December 20th, we were at 7.7 inches for the month of December. But then since that time, there's been quite a bit of rainfall and snowfall up north. And you can see we blew the average for the month of December. The average, long-term average is 10 inches for the month of December. And this year we ended at 16.8. So it was 100 168% of average for the month of December. And January, even though we're only 10 days into it, we're getting close to the long-term average of 9.1. We're currently at 6.8, which is 75% of the monthly average for the month of January. So all things good when it comes to the 8-station index up north. Next slide. So this is another chart that paints the picture. So we've all seen this before. The light blue shaded area shows our long-term average from 1991 through 2020. It shows we typically get on average 53.2 inches of precipitation for the entire water year. Currently, we're at 29.2, and that's a cumulative amount since October 1st. We also plot some of the wettest years and driest years on record. And you can see we're very close to the 16-17 water year, which was the wettest year on record for this time of year. You can see that's the red line, so we're very close to what we were at during that year for this time of year. Also plotted the driest years on record and also the last 3 water years. So you can see we're well on our way to beating the last 3 years if trends continue. And this chart shows Oroville. As you know, Oroville is a major state water project reservoir. And the light blue shaded area shows the long-term average. The dark blue line shows where we're currently at. They are estimating that Lake Oroville will increase in elevation approximately 40 feet over the next week, just due to the amount of runoff up above the Oroville Reservoir. And just that increase in 40 feet of elevation will increase the storage volume within Oroville by about 300,000 acre feet for the state water project. So again, all good news there. Next slide. This slide shows San Luis Reservoir. You may recall San Luis is a shared reservoir between the Central Valley Project and the State Water Project. State Water Project has 55% capacity and the CVP has 45%. So we're currently in what they call first flush status of runoff before they can start pumping water from the delta into San Luis Reservoir. Increased flows on the San Joaquin River is definitely adding to exports to the south. DWR's goal is to move surplus water south by maximizing storage, which will first occur as far as pumping and filling San Luis Reservoir. Once maximum flows to San Luis are completed, DWR is going to increase exports to the west branch of the California aqueduct and followed by the east branch. So what that means is once they meet the target elevations for San Luis, they're going to begin filling Pyramid and Castaic Lake, which is on the west branch of the State Water Project. And then they'll move over to the east branch and fill reservoirs like what is it, to the east of us? Silverwood. Thank you, Dwayne. Silverwood Lake. So current storage is about 790,000 acre feet, which is 39% of total capacity. And we're currently at about 59% of historical average for this time of year for San Luis Reservoir. Next slide, please. So this was an interesting chart that we added. It shows the major Central Valley Project reservoirs and the State Water Project reservoirs. Just a change in elevation since December 26th. You can see Lake Oroville has gone up 71 feet just in the last couple weeks. And San Luis Reservoir has gone up 20 feet over that same time frame. And then also showed the 2 CV projects Shasta Lake and Folsom Lake. Now we're going to switch gears. That's all I had for the weather report. We're currently still at 5% allocation for 2022. We do anticipate, with all this good news, that we'll be getting a notice from DWR increase in our allocation for 2022. So once that comes through, I'll be sure to pass that information along to the board. And as the water year develops, I will present different options for the agency if we have excess water to use this year, and we'll discuss that, and I'll give some recommendations on what we do with that water. But for now, I'll turn it over to John Bozigan, operations manager for the agency, and he's going to talk through some work that we're planning on the North Feeder.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, so good evening. Tonight I'm going to talk about the North Feeder shutdown that's scheduled for next week. Give you a little update on that. And if you look at the monitor, I don't know if I can point with this. Can I, Matt?
I can point.
Okay. So you see the blue line is our feeder. It starts at the bottom there on the bottom left. Central feeder comes from the Roseman plant, goes up until it hits the North Feeder, which is that east-west line where Matt's pointing. And you can see Highway 58 above that. The North Feeder goes to the east, and right where it jogs to the north, there's a leak. There was a leak last year, and that's on Edwards Air Force Base property. So we discovered the leak, and we hired WM Lyles to do an emergency repair. That line, as you know, feeds a lot of customers out there, and it can't be down for that long. So WM Lyles was hired on a time and material basis to make the repair. So as you can see from the picture, what they discovered was a full length of pipe was probably damaged when it was put in back in the 70s or 80s, whenever it was. And it developed a crack on top, and that's pre-stressed spiral wound steel pipe. So they were able to weld a patch plate on top to at least stop the leak, because if that pipe blew out in the summer, we'd be in big trouble. So they did make a temporary repair. They welded a patch plate over it, and that we hoped and prayed it would last for the year, and it did. Okay, lead times for pipe and materials, as we've gone over before, lead times are very long. So we had WM Lyles in the interim get the correct parts they would need to make a permanent repair. And we thought, you know what, we can't do this in the summer. So we have to wait until January 2023, and here we are. And they got all the parts that they need to make the repair. And in fact, we're going to have them put a line valve, since they're taking a piece of pipe out and putting a brand new piece in, we're going to have them install a line valve, because what we've discovered on a lot of our feeders, since we're really a distribution system, there's not a lot of line valves where you can isolate sections. So when we have a problem, we have to drain a whole lot of the line, and that's a 33-inch pipe, and that's a lot of water. So we figure if they install a line valve at that point, that'll isolate a section in the future if we have a problem. It just makes sense to have them do it. So they have all the parts to make the repair. We have contacted all of the customers out there, and we have told them that the service is going to be out on the North Feeder from Tuesday the 17th through Friday the 27th. And during that time, AVEC staff and the contractor are going to perform different duties, as you can see. AVEC staff will drain the feeder. Contractor will excavate, replace the pipe, install the valve, backfill, compact, and then AVEC staff will disinfect the pipe, refill, flush, and then take bacteriological samples. And once we get good results, we'll restore the North Feeder to service. We have done this before. We did it last year, so we have a very good plan. Customers were notified in November, December, and early January, so everybody knows about it out there. You can see it's Edwards Air Force Base, Edgemont Acres, Boron CSD, Desert Lakes, FPL, which is the solar facility out there, US Borax, California City, and Desert Sage Apartments. We anticipate and hope the repairs are going to go a little more quickly than that full time. WM Lyles is a great contractor. They do good work. And like I said, they've had it dug up before. They know what they're getting into. So we hope that we can get it done sooner, but that will be a worst case scenario. Be happy to answer any questions.
John asked a couple of questions. One, how did you discover it was leaking?
Our staff we drive all of our pipelines monthly just to, check them out. And they drove onto the base, and they followed the pipeline and they saw a water, a little oasis, a little habitat forming out there. And so we're like, okay, not good. So we caught it before it got bad, which is a good thing. And that's just very prudent by our staff to maintain our facilities and keep an eye on things, especially, as you know, Keith, especially, you know how remote that North Feeder is. So it goes on for miles. So we drive it once a month and just make sure everything's right.
The second question, how much pipe in length do you think it's going to take?
It's a full 40-foot joint that they're going to replace. That whole joint was compromised. And in construction, when pipeline guys, especially back in the day when they were putting in miles of pipe, a lot of times they would just roll the pipe off the truck as they drive along the trench. And sometimes a backhoe would hit it when they're putting it in. Anyway, the mortar on the outside of the pipe was gone. And so rust over the past 35 plus years has just worked on that pipe. So there could be more out there. We don't know, but we did find that one. So, and like I said, it's a time and material job. So we'll keep track of obviously their equipment, their time, and we will bring that to the finance committee at the appropriate time.
Why is it only 40 feet?
Well, the joints are 40 feet, and they dug on either side, and those joints look good. So we figure the more you look, the more you find. So we figure let's just stick with that one that we know is leaking. Yeah. How old is that one? Keith, I think that was put in, was it the early or mid 80s, or maybe even the late 70s? I think late 70s. Yeah. I was in high school when they were putting that pipe in. That's how long ago it was. So, yeah, it's mortar lined and coated, and you can see those bars that are wrapped around it. They used to, back in the day, they'd use thinner wall pipe, but they'd wrap it, they'd pre-stress it. And it was less expensive doing it that way, but it's mortar lined on the inside and outside. Steel pipe. Steel pipe, yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of pressure surges out there. Anyway.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, does that conclude your report?
I got one more slide, so thank you, John. So in continuation on our discussion of shutdowns for maintenance, you may or may not know, we're in the middle of a shutdown here at the Court Sale Water Treatment Plant. We do this every year to perform routine maintenance and inspection and cleaning of the plant. So that began just after the holiday on the 3rd of January. We're on schedule to get wrapped up by Friday of this week, and the plant will be back online beginning next Monday, the 16th. So no customers have been affected, and we're able to store enough water in the clear wells to maintain flow to the critical customers. Definitely the weather has helped because demand is very low for this time of year. And a few events coming up. Agency's going to be closed on Monday, the 16th for Martin Luther King holiday. AV Watermaster meetings coming up in a couple weeks on Wednesday, the 25th at 10 a.m. It'll be in person or via Zoom. I think item number 4, Holly has informed the directors about there's some harassment prevention training being offered by JPIA. It's required that all directors take that course at some point, even though it says optional, but this is an option for taking that. That's on the 26th. We've been invited to a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Edwards Solar Project. You may recall AVAC granted an easement to Sanborn Solar for the development of that project. So they have invited the agency to that event. If you are interested in going, please let Holly know, and we can coordinate that as we get closer to the 2nd of February. There's also a conference coming up if you're all interested in attending. It's the Urban Water Institute. It's towards the end of February on the 22nd through the 24th. I believe it's in Indian Wells, Palm Springs area this year. And then on the 24th of February, it's a Friday, we have the AV Edge 2023 Spring Summit at the AV Fair. I think that Director Miller has mentioned that in the past.
Is that what used to be the Outlook Conference?
Yes, it is. Yep. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions for my report.
Any questions, Matt?
Real quick, I missed how much of water is in the overall? Is there, are we at the halfway point?
The volume, yeah, we're pretty close to 50% in Oroville.
It's still rolling in?
We hope so. We've all spent a fortune on rebuilding it. It'd be nice to test it out.
Yeah.
Oroville.
7% capacity.
So it's 44% of capacity right now.
44?
Yeah. Yeah, it went up 70 feet since December 26th, and we're projecting another 40 feet over the next week or so.
That's our big one.
Yeah, that's the big one that catches that runoff from the Feather River region, and then it flows into the Feather River into the Delta, and then we export from the Delta.
I have a question.
Yes.
Let's just say that the allocation is 25%, and which includes MET. How much water can we take this year with the high desert water bank they asked us to?
So, that's a good question. So our goal is to have the turnout and what we call stage 1 recharge, which is that southeast area of the high desert water bank, in a place to receive recharge water by June, July of this year. So we'll have the ability, and MET will have the ability to recharge water there beginning in July through December. And that capacity, Justin, probably about 50% of total capacity. So probably 17,000 acre feet could be recharged there in 6 months.
What about the following year, 24?
Following year, I believe it's early 2024 that we'll have the northern section of the recharge area available. So then we'll be 100% capacity of recharge. 70,000 acre feet per year. So like I said, once we get our final allocation, we'll bring a presentation to the board and talk about our options for managing that supply.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
It moves us on to the director's report. If there's any director has anything to report.
Mr. President, I had one quick report, if I could.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in a meeting recently with Chen Dow from the city of Lancaster. She's the senior manager of economic development and real estate. And we were talking about replacement water and water supply. And she said that the city would be very interested in getting a presentation on what we're doing. They're very excited of the fact that we did away with replacement water costs and charges. So I invited them to our next water master meeting to have lunch with us and provide a presentation on our water supply, how the water master board's working, maybe, help with some enforcement issues. So she is going to come with some of her planning staff and the city manager. And I was hoping that the next water master meeting, I could then invite the city of Palmdale to do the same thing for all the reasons would be good for them to know.
That'd be very good.
I just wanted to report that we're going to do that lunch after water master, and maybe if any of the other board members would like to attend. Obviously we can't have a quorum, or I guess we could. I mean, we're not discussing business, it's just a presentation. it's certainly open for whoever would like to attend. And we would do the presentation probably back here in the back board meeting. I think they're bringing,
I think they had close to 10.
How many?
The late 10.
all 10 are
on the
coming. Okay,
latest.
good.
Yeah.
We gave them a max number of 10 and they filled the spots,
Yeah.
including the city manager. So it'd be good for some of you to show up if you'd like.
Thank you for the report. Very good.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there's no other director's reports, let's move on to item number 10, attorney's reports. Is there anything?
Nothing to report, President Lane.
Okay, item number 11, a request for future agenda items. Okay, move item number 12, old business. And there's nothing,
There's no reason to go into closed
Okay.
session this evening.
closed session announcements. We don't have that. So, okay, that brings us, I think, unless there's anything further from any of the other directors or staff, that brings us to the end of the meeting. And so a motion to adjourn would be in order. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You didn't need this, but Avek needed you.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated. That's very kind of the board.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to say something as well, but I really appreciate Keith and Frank over the last couple of years and their leadership as well. And I think Keith has to hit the gavel, because I don't think he ever had a chance.
Let Frank hit the gavel. Keith. Great. Okay. We still need a motion to adjourn. Okay, Audrey's got a motion. The second, McGarry. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll call for a roll call vote.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Hey, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Thank you.